the plastic cap that was sitting here, and then there's a 7mm bolt. You're gonna have to take that out. This panel off, and then you're gonna have to remove this wire before you pull it all the way down. Next, you're gonna take a plastic pry tool. You're just gonna separate this piece and pull this down just a little bit. We're gonna access the hose right here. This is the hose going to your rear wiper fluid line. We're going to disconnect at the junction here. This is where we're gonna tee into. So we like to use a fish tape for this. We put a little electrical tape at the end, and then we use a little glass cleaner or any type of lube, and we're gonna take this and fish it down through this conduit, what we're gonna route our hose up into so that we can bring it along here and tee in. Once you have the hose routed through like that, we're gonna put on one end of the hose and pull it through. We like to connect the hose with electrical tape like this. Make sure it's super tight on the fish tape so when you're pulling through, it doesn't pull out. Pull the hose through until you have about this much hanging out, because that's what you're gonna tee into right here. Now we're gonna make the connection right here. The hose connects to this plastic pass-through. You're just gonna pull that apart. That's that one right there, just like that. And then we're gonna put a small section of hose right here. The T-fitting that came in your kit, I'm gonna put that on one end. Reconnect the section of hose that you just disconnected. And take the hose that you just routed through there, we're gonna put that on the T. Done with that, we're just gonna tuck this all back in here. And just pull the slack through, just like that. Just make sure you refasten the headline underneath this rubber here. Same thing, put this back. You have to remove both of these trim pieces to get to the two nuts under here. You're going to want to remove the 3 8mm screws on this side as well as this side, and then there's 10 8mm nuts on here you want to remove to get that trim piece off. The thing you're going to remove is this whole trim piece, and the best way to do that, there's yellow tabs in here that are holding it in, and you're going to want to release those with with needle nose pliers so it helps pull it out. Using the piece of sandpaper that came in your kit, you're going to want to rough up underneath the hammer housing as well as the nozzle. You want a rough surface between the two for the epoxy to adhere properly. Take the wipe that came in your kit, you're just going to clean that, make sure it's clean of any oils or debris, and do the same thing with the nozzle. While that's drying, we're going to take our epoxy that came in the kit. Make sure you empty it completely, 100%, because you're going to want to mix this very thoroughly. You can use the card that came in your kit if you want, or a little ketchup dish, or whatever you have. You want that to set a little bit before you put this on the nozzle. And you're going to want that nozzle to sit and dry for at least 45 minutes to properly cure in at least 65-degree temperature. Once that sets, we're going to put a little dab onto the nozzle, put that right on there. All right, now that that's had a little time to set, just place that right on the nozzle. So it doesn't cover the orifice, otherwise it will not spray. That. And spread it like that. Eye it up from the side and make sure that nozzle is going to hit the lens. And then you're just going to let that sit for 45 minutes. Once you've made a mark with the template that comes in your kit, just open that up to 5/16. This is what you'll run the hose through. I'm going to take like maybe a 12-inch section of hose and just snip that and route that through so you have roughly the length you need to connect. And then we're actually going to puncture a hole in this grommet to pass that through. Just like that. Take the check valve that came in your kit, make sure the arrow is facing in the direction of flow, like that. And then we're going to mount this back on the vehicle. Now you're going to take the hose that you routed through here, We're just going to run it along with this wiring harness. Good to reconnect all your wiring harnesses. Put in all the fasteners you took out. Now it's time to put back all the panels that you took off. One last thing left to do.